Welcome back to Level Uploading, Fight Feelings, Face Facts with yours truly, Shay. Are you lonely or are you just alone? There is a difference. I say, are you lonely or are you just alone? There is a difference. Do you know the difference? Do you know the difference between being lonely and alone? I'll let you know exactly what that is. I'm so extra. I really sat there and practiced that. That was like so extra. Like, relax, shorty. You're doing a lot.
Okay.
But anyway, being alone is a physical state where you are physically by yourself. Being lonely is an emotional state where you are feeling alone or disconnected from others, even when they are next to you. Sometimes we are happy to be by ourselves, and sometimes we wish we had the company of others. I got that from a counseling website, nicejocounseling.com, being lonely versus being alone. But this is a question that I ask myself all the time, and it's something that I actually struggle with sometimes because I am very rarely, hear me out, please, before you start judging. I'm very rarely lonely. I feel as though I have such a great relationship with God. I have such a great relationship with myself. I have so much purpose that I'm trying to grow into that I don't really feel lonely. Like, I have. And you want me to tell you something that's really transparent? The loneliest times in my life have been when I was surrounded by people. The loneliest times in my life have been when I was in a relationship. Those are the things that triggered my loneliness. But in my singlehood, and singledom, whatever. As a single woman, I am just so immersed in my Bible, my podcast, my job, my hobbies on the side, whether that be my live music, my poetry, meeting new people in this new town that I'm in. I mean, I've been here for 2+ years now. The first portion of it was during COVID, but it wasn't as crazy as it. The first portion of it was through C19, let's just say that, because I don't have time for YouTube, even though I'm not monetized yet. It's coming. But I need to make sure that all coins are secured. But neither here nor there. The first portion of my time here was not as, interactive as it could have been if this was a different time that I moved. Anyway, I just think about that so much. Like, am I lonely or am I alone? I've always just been alone. I've always been okay with it. And I don't know if it stems from this, but I was the only child for 5 years almost. Well, 4 3/4. I was the only child. And I just knew how to be by myself. I knew how to self-soothe. I knew how to handle situations. I knew how to be by myself and play and have an imagination and entertain myself. I didn't have anyone but my parents. So, I mean, yeah, of course, your parents is cool. Y'all cute or whatever. But, like, you ain't no kid, Even when I did start to interact with kids, I still just knew how to just be by myself. Like, seclusion was never a problem for me. A lot of times I would find myself secluded anyway, because one thing about me, when I was growing up, I was gifted. Let's just say that. So I did skip a grade. So, like, I was always secluded. So when I went to some of my classes, oh God, I didn't think I was going to get into this, but okay. So I would go to my classes and answer all the questions. I was a kid. I didn't have any regulators to say, don't answer all the questions that other kids answer. I was just answering because I knew. I'm 4, 5, 6 years old. I don't know, like, you're being a ball hog or you're being you're being I don't know what you want to call it, but I would say a ball hog. You're being boastful. I was just saying the answers because I knew the answers. My mom had been working with me. I had been able to read since I was 3. By 4, It probably was up there and stuck. So when I got to school age, like, I'm far advanced than most children because a lot of times, unfortunately, kids didn't have the same type of, pouring into as I did. And I know that I'm blessed in that way. But neither here nor there. So eventually, in my show offness, I guess you could say, my teacher was like, okay, this girl knows the answer to everything that I'm going to teach this year. We need to get her. This is not going to challenge her. This is not going to show her anything. She already knows this stuff. We need to move her up a grade. And so I got moved up a grade. So before we actually moved me up a grade, because obviously I'm in those young years where it's like developmentally, I might not be ready to be with the older kids, but educationally and, mentally, I might be able to, but I have to still fit in. And so I had to half days. I did not know this was going to turn into like a fake story time, but okay. It's fine. I did half days where I would go to the next grade and spend a half day with them. But when I came back to my class, I was given computer privileges. And I was alone. I've been singled out my whole life. So I've been set apart my whole entire life. And I think people look at that, and that even the kids, then they were kids, they don't even know what they're doing, but they were like, well, why does she get to be on the computer? Because when I came back to the room for the second portion of my day, because I just only was doing half days at the upper grade. So kindergarten level, I was going to first grade. Only doing half days. Why she get to go get straight onto the computer? I was playing Oregon Trails. If you old, you know what I'm talking about. I think it's Oregon Trails. I think that's the name of it. But if you old, you know what I'm talking about. That used to be the jam. Killing all the levels on that. And they're still having to do their daily, activities. And it was just crazy because I couldn't explain it, but I have been set apart my whole life. I've been alone my whole life. Like, I've been surrounded by people. I have always been a great interactive person. People love me. I've always been like that nerd that people still like. Like, I was relatable. I still was down to earth, but I was getting, when my standardized testing come, if I'm in 6th grade, I'm getting 9th and 10th grade score, numbers, things like that. But everybody would be rushing to me to be like, oh, let me see what we know Sharonda. Not too much on the name. Y'all call me Shay. But they'd be like, we know Sharonda got, what you get? So, I'd be like, oh, I got a 9.7. Mind you, I'm in 5th grade. I got a 9.7. What you get? If you know about Iowa tests, please leave me a comment somewhere, because, we used to have to take them Iowa tests on them Scantrons. Whoo, child. But I mean, that was nothing to me because, like I said, my mom had really prepared me for school. And then when school did take over, we still had stuff like my aunt. I promise you, we used to come when my aunt was like, she used to watch us. And we would go and we'd have like drills where me and all my cousins would sit around. We'd have like multiplication. I cannot talk. We'd have multiplication tables. We'd have our timetables on a sheet, and we'd have to try to get through them. It's timed, and whoever could finish first. And I would be finishing first, like, all the time. Like, I was really brilliant and gifted, and that's not even just to toot my own horn. That's just to be honest and be real. Now, as I got older, I did resent a lot of the learning that I got, because I just felt like some of the kid stuff, bear with me, I still got to be a kid. I just was tired I was striving for perfection because that's what I had been used to. All A's, all this. Like, that was a lot of pressure for a kid, and I did not realize it until I got older, and I started to rebel against it. To the point where I even failed classes when I was in high school. Like, had to retake them or had to go to summer school. Just out of pure, like, I don't feel like putting in the effort that it's going to take for me to do this. Like, I'm tired. drained at this point of just being an exceller, you know. I'm not proud of that, but it's a thing. So y'all have some grace and some mercy on your kids, and also just understand that sometimes even if you're not putting pressure on your kids, they're putting it on themselves. So try to talk to them and figure out what's going on with them when you start to see their grades take a dive, because sometimes it's just our own self. Like my mom has always expected great things from me. My parents, my family has always expected great things from me, but it has never been like a drill sergeant or anything like that. My own self-talk and my own mental was what was like overwhelming me, honestly, like seriously. So I just say all that to say, with being set apart, you have to kind of get used to being in solitude, and I'm not lonely, but I see so many people in this world that are lonely. They're actually here and they're lonely. They're surrounded by people and they're lonely. They're alone and they're lonely. They have their kids around and they're lonely. They have their men around and they're lonely. They have their friends, their family, their loved ones, and they're lonely. We have to figure out a way to respect our solitude. Our solitude is such a divine time because it's a time for you to be able to hear from God without outside influences. It's a time for you to be able to hear from yourself and what you really want to do, be, and become without outside influences. And I think that companionship is a dope thing, but a lot of people base their whole lives off of it. And it can be very stifling to need the company of others in order for you to feel seen, heard, and loved. Love yourself, hear yourself, see yourself. Do some mirror work. Look in the mirror, talk to yourself, speak to yourself. Know that you are valuable. And even if you are in the season of aloneness or loneliness, please understand that you are no less valuable than you were if you were with someone. Take yourself seriously. Make sure that you're pouring into your own purpose before you start trying to align yourself with someone else's. I was watching Married at First Sight the other day, and we're on like season 16, I think. And like Kirsten, that's her name, Kirsten. She is married to Shaquille, we just call him Shaq, and she had to miss the first day of her honeymoon because she was going to support him because he had a speaking engagement, a research engagement that he had to go to before they went to their honeymoon. Like, you have to understand, people want to align with others, but they don't want to make the sacrifices and the commitments that come with that. So enjoy this season of doing what you want to do, being only on your own schedule, being only on your own time, not having to deal with any other factors other than your children or your own, or just your own, like myself. It's a blessing. And it's a time for you to get closer to the Most High because you don't have anything else to prioritize. You're not juggling things. Please, y'all, understand that you are alone. That doesn't mean that you're lonely. There are so many things that can fill your time. Fill your time wisely. Because at the end of the day, you are what matters as well. At the end of the day, just because you are not aligned with someone at this moment does not mean that you won't be. Enjoy this solitude. Enjoy this season of singleness. It's for you. You guys enjoy the rest of your evening. I hope this was helpful. Have a good one. Love you guys. Bye.